one of the central premises of this entire channel, and what should be a part of your self-development journey when you're trying to master the world of dating and relationships, is internalizing this fundamental idea that men and women think differently. We see the world differently. We experience the world differently. What men find attractive and what women find attractive in terms of behavior is completely different. So it's not enough that you just intend for one behavior to be interpreted a certain way. That's not enough. You need to be aware of how women are interpreting this behavior. And I keep seeing this come up again and again in my private consultations. So it's worth doing a video on this. And this is a man who is pursuing a woman and he's interested in her. He's asked her out. He wants to go on a couple of dates with her. Maybe they've already been. And in his mind, he wants to do the right thing. He wants to be honorable. And so he doesn't pursue any other women. All of his focus is on this girl. Now, they're not exclusive. They're not boyfriend and girlfriend. They're not going out. They're not anything. They're just spending time with each other. But in his mind, he's thinking, well, that is where I ultimately want this relationship to go. Like, I'd like to see this become romantic. And so, out of respect for her, I'm not going to see any other women. I'm not going to pursue any other options. He thinks that he's doing the right thing, but this is the behavior that completely grosses women out, and I'm going to explain why. When you designate just one woman as the only option that you're pursuing, you only have eyes for her, that is a tremendous amount of pressure. And guess what? She didn't ask for it. At no point did she say, by the way, while we're getting to know each other, trying to find out if this dynamic that we've got going here has any romantic potential, I don't want you to explore any other relationships. She never made that request. And so this is not some favor that you're doing a woman. At least that's not how she's going to see it. Even if you see it that way, you think you're being honorable or whatever, to her, it's just pressure and it's moving too quickly. That level of commitment or exclusivity, if only in your mind, is something that she didn't want, she didn't ask for. And quite frankly, the two of you don't know each other well enough to be expecting that kind of thing. And what tends to happen is that if a man is giving this kind of commitment, or what could you say, this sort of pressure, this expectation for a woman that he's only pursuing her, inevitably what happens is he begins to expect the same from her. So even if in his mind he's thinking, no, she can do whatever she wants, I don't mind, this is just a decision that I've made inside myself. Human psychology doesn't work that way, and very quickly a man will begin to expect that from a woman and resent her if she doesn't give him that. Of course, that kind of resentment is just toxic to any dynamic that is trying to begin. How are you meant to create a functional relationship and start off on a strong, solid, healthy foundation if one person has radically different expectations and a sense of entitlement that the other person doesn't have? This entitlement that I'm talking about is this feeling that the man has given something up for the woman, and so therefore she owes him in some way. Let me see if I can explain this in a simple way that just makes sense. A man is like, hey, I'm only pursuing you, and I could be pursuing a whole bunch of other women. So I just came up onto this log. I could be pursuing all these other women, but I'm not doing that. I've only got eyes for you at the moment. Like, that's something precious. That's a treasure that I have given you. And in his mind, I think that gives him the entitlement to rush things faster than they ordinarily would be. And so what tends to happen is that a man will ask a woman out far beyond when it's actually appropriate to do so. And by ask a woman out, I mean ask for some kind of exclusivity. Like, hey, are we boyfriend and girlfriend? Are you seeing anybody else? Are we, just for each other now? As I've stated in previous videos, I'm not at all a fan of men having this conversation. Now, I understand from a masculine point of view, hold on a sec. I understand from a masculine point of view why men like to have this conversation, because it's not comfortable when you're a guy who's used to logic and order, knowing where you stand. You don't want to have ambiguous relationships. If you're going to spend time with somebody, you want to know where you stand with that person. What do you mean to each other? Where is this going? And a lot of guys are like, look, I don't want to waste my time. If this is not heading anywhere serious, if you're not going to be my girlfriend, if we're not going to be romantic, if we're not going to make love, then I need to stop spending time with you. I want to move on to somebody else. And so they rush this conversation, and they'll tell themselves that they're doing both of them a favor, like they're being a good guy, because they're like, hey, look, I'm being upfront and honest about my feelings. I'm letting you know where I stand. I like you. Do you like me? And they think, yeah, this was a really honorable, good thing that I did by having this conversation. But women will not perceive it that way. And I actually want to challenge that whole paradigm, because in a lot of ways, it's actually quite a manipulative behavior. Now, that's quite a strong word, so let me dial it back a little bit, but I'm sure that once I've explained what I mean, you'll understand where I'm coming from. It's less about, when men typically do this, it's less about being upfront with their emotions and more about trying to force the woman into a particular dynamic inorganically, when it's not authentic for that to have occurred. If you meet a woman and you like her and she likes you and you spend some time together, what's wrong with that? Why does there any need to be any label on it at this stage? You're still getting to know each other. Attraction, even though physical attraction can often happen very, very quickly, the deeper attraction that leads to like a functional long-term relationship takes a lot longer to create. And so you can't expect a woman to just be into you really, really quickly. She's doing her due diligence, and you should be as well. No woman should capture your heart to the point where you're like, yes, this is definitely the woman for me, until you've spent a significant amount of time with her. So while in your value system, you're thinking, hey, I'm being really upfront, authentic, and honest, actually no, what you're really doing is trying to force the issue and get her to make a commitment before it would organically actually occur. And so you think, well, how long do I have to wait? You know, I'm a man, I've got things to do, I've got other options to pursue. I get all of that. And so you're getting frustrated, like, why can't I just have that conversation? Because if she doesn't know that she wants me after 3 dates, then, I don't want to wait around forever. Trust me, it will come and you'll have your answer, because there's a certain period of time where if she doesn't bring it up, if she doesn't start that conversation, you've got your answer. Women, if they like a man, are going to be really, really keen to lock him down. And so you don't need to force the issue. Basically, there's going to be exceptions to this, but you can take this as a general rule. If you're the one who has to ask for a commitment, if you're the one who has to say, hey, what do we mean to each other? Where do you see this going? Then she's not as committed as you are. You're not on the right page. She is less attracted to you than you are to her, because it's more normal for her to be trying to lock you down in a commitment. That's what's more natural in the biology. And so if that's been flipped, if that's not the dynamic that you're experiencing, then that's kind of your answer. So there's no need to force the issue. If it's good, like if things are going well between the two of you and she likes you and she's attracted to you, that's going to be obvious. You don't need to pursue it any further with any kind of formal line of questioning. And if you're not getting that vibe from her, she's not starting that conversation, I'm sorry, you've got your answer. It's time to grieve and then move on, pursue another girl. Just remember that she never asked you to give up your options. That wasn't a favor that you did her. It's because she didn't ask for it. That's just pressure that you're putting it on to yourself for no reason. And you expecting any kind of reward from that is completely unrealistic. And quite frankly, it's actually a little bit unfair. And I'll tell you something else. And men have difficulty imagining this because we've got our own male mindset and we have difficulty relating to the way that women think. But trust me, women like men who have options. I know it sounds strange because you're thinking, look, if I'm spending time with a girl, I don't want her spending time with any other guys, and that makes sense. But you're thinking like a man. For a woman, if he is, got options and he's having dates with other women and they're, going well, it demonstrates that he's a high value man. It demonstrates pre-selection, that other women find him attractive. That's a good thing. That's going to convince her like, this is a guy who other women are really taking notice of. I need to treat this guy especially nice. I need to lock him down into a commitment. Otherwise, some other woman will. She's going to be more into you, more attracted to you, more likely to want a commitment if you have other female options. If you say to her, by the way, I've got no other options going on, I'm not even looking at any other women, that's not attractive to her. Not in the same way that it would be if a girl was saying that to you, because men and women, we think differently, and so different behaviors are attractive to us. Now, I'm not saying that in a long-term relationship, it's a healthy thing for you to be maintaining options. Definitely not. That kind of behavior is immature. I think it's called like dread game or something like that. It's this obnoxious idea that, you need to keep your long-term relationship partner loyal by always demonstrating to her that you have other options in the relationship, essentially, provoking fear in her heart that you're going to leave at some point, and this is going to somehow, keep her loyal. It's ridiculous. In the long-term relationship, you can give up all of these games. That's the point of a long-term relationship. You know that you like each other, you relax and you commit. You're no longer even part of the dating market, so that whole paradigm doesn't even, apply to you anymore. But just because that's how things are going to end up in the long term, in a good, healthy, trusting, high quality person relationship, that doesn't mean that that's the paradigm that's appropriate at the beginning of the relationship. In the beginning, you do have to play the game, and that basically means signaling to her that you're a high value man and that other women find you attractive. And there's a number of other benefits to this as well. When you're a man who has options in the dating market, you don't feel the need to rush things with any one particular girl. You're not pushing for a commitment before it would organically just arise or it would come from her authentically. You're thinking, all right, I'm enjoying spending time with this girl, but I'm also enjoying spending time with this girl, and that girl also is showing some interest in me, and I don't really know which one of these would make the best long-term partner. I need to collect more data. I need to take things slowly with all of them because I don't want to make the wrong choice. That's attractive to women. If she can sense that a man is difficult to lock down or get into a commitment because he's got so many options, that's just going to make her more and more attracted to you, which is a good thing. It also means that you're less likely to get tricked, because if you're only pursuing one option, then you're going to have that scarcity mindset and you're going to have that fear like, oh, this is my only chance for romantic or sexual happiness or success, so I really, really need to make things work with this particular girl. But that kind of scarcity is how so many guys end up in toxic relationships with low quality women, because they didn't have options, because they didn't pursue options. They didn't stay available to the many women who are around them. They weren't considering these kind of options. And so this one girl who's in front of them, who they've decided, upon first meeting her, I'm going to put all of my efforts into her. Well, what if she's nice to begin with, but it takes a couple of months or a couple of weeks or a couple of dates, however long, before her true colors start to show. And it turns out she's actually crazy, or she's actually manipulative, or she's actually been with 50,000 guys before you, whatever red flag, pick your poison. But if you've only been pursuing her, you're going to have that, what's it called, when you've invested in something to the point where you're not willing to give it up. I've put in this amount of work. I've already taken out this kind of effort. This is the girl I've committed to. And so you don't want to back down and admit that you were wrong, because it means that all of the work you put in up until this point is all for nothing. So hold back. Don't rush this. There's no need. Just sit back and evaluate your options and take things slowly with women. This is how you have a much higher chance of obtaining a high quality woman as a girlfriend, because you're taking the time to properly vet all of the women that you're interacting with. You're not rushing any of them. You're not pushing for a commitment before it's necessary to do so. And you can find out, you can test these women, like, hey, how do you respond in this situation? How do you respond amongst my group of friends here? Let me see you interact with your parents. All of that good stuff that comes with time. You're going to be able to sit there and observe and genuinely find out if the woman that you're interacting with is a high quality woman. All of that goes away if you only pursue one woman. And so look, you know me, I'm a guy for long-term monogamy with a high quality woman. I don't promote male promiscuity, but you have to play the game. And the game is in the dating market that a man who's only pursuing one girl is going to be less attractive to women and less likely to be able to identify a high quality woman than a man who is pursuing multiple women and can evaluate the goods and like the pros and cons of lots of different women at the same time.
My videos tend to focus on the dating market of younger people, and mostly my analysis of women is for women aged 18 to 35, that stage of life before women have children. But one of the older members of my Patreon community wanted me to talk about how the dating market changes for middle-aged people, and that is the topic of my latest video. In this video, I talk about the things that middle-aged guys need to give up in terms of expectations when dating as an older guy, and also what to expect from dating women who are not in their 20s in terms of independence, career, children, expectations of children. I also talk about how men have more power in the older person's dating market, and why biologically this is the case, as well as strategies to employ when dating women who are in the older age range. If you're frustrated that so many of my videos focus on young people and the dating market of young people, then this is the video for you. For every video that I post on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon page. That means that at the moment you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you'd like access to the other half, then please go and sign up at my Patreon.